on this edition of Somerville Neighborhood News. Go to the Winter Hill meeting to hear from those who were supposed to be supervising a man accused of a brutal sexual assault. Hear from new Somerville High School students who recently arrived from Central America and learn how the school system is helping them out. Get the latest on the Brazilian elections, get an update on the flooding issue, and go behind the scenes of Somerville Rocks. All this and more on Somerville Neighborhood News.
Hello and welcome to Somerville Neighborhood News. Today is November 4th, Election Day. I'm Sarah Zhang and I hope you all voted. I did. Somerville Neighborhood News is a community service production of SCATV, put together by staff, interns, and your neighbors. We bring you the news every 2 weeks on SCATV, Channel 3, and on our website, somervilleneighborhoodnews.org. We begin on Winter Hill. Last month, a woman was brutally assaulted, allegedly by a man living in the group home at 155 Central Street. Neighbors have been complaining about a lack of supervision at the home for years. On October 29th, the city held a community meeting on the issue. Kayla Mamalak brings us the story.
I do not feel safe walking from my car to my house because I live 2 doors down from this house. That is a problem.
Winter Hill neighbors were furious with the way the Vinfin Group home has been managed.
I came to this meeting saying, and I was not, my position was not in my backyard, but I'm leaving here tonight thinking, I don't want this home in my backyard, unless somebody can fix it.
Representatives of Vinfin and the Department of Mental Health attended to listen and to apologize.
We haven't been as responsive as we need to be, and I apologize for that. I think there's probably a lot of reasons, and I don't know all the answers. I think we need to acknowledge that we haven't done it. We need to do it better.
To keep it brief, maybe we
but
could get
people
everybody on a
didn't
level
let them
playing
off
field.
that easy.
I encourage everyone inside here to read the Boston Globe article from 2009. The quotes that I'm hearing this evening match almost word for word. So now we have something 5 years later hearing exactly the same solutions with an escalation of problems.
Neighbors of the group home said they felt unsafe and disrespected.
And when you guys came to the neighborhood, the idea was this was a home for people to be in the neighborhood, and they were to become part of the neighborhood and respect the neighborhood. And they don't respect us.
Vinfin promised to work with the police in the future.
There's a failure here. If there's this much pent-up frustration, there's a complete failure here. Definitely, and 100%.
Somerville residents weren't the only ones fed up. Elected officials weighed in too.
I think we need to have penalties if you don't live up to your obligations, and rewards if you do.
We are with them, so correct it yesterday.
The meeting discussed what else could be done to make residents feel safe.
We don't want to go back to one flew over the cuckoo's nest, but we want people to live with a certain repose that their neighborhoods are safe and that we're making reasonable decisions about the kinds of folks that you are having to live in a neighborhood that's very dense and replete with children.
I know we're going to be working much more closely with the police and local officials to make sure that nothing like this event ever happens again. And we've got a good plan to move forward with that.
I don't believe that Vinfin can fix themselves. So what I believe needs to happen is that whoever is holding Vinfin accountable needs to now externally look into them, see what's gone wrong, and diagnose it themselves. We cannot trust Vinfin anymore to fix themselves.
They should have no doubt in their mind that we're concerned about the individuals who live in the house, and also not just for our safety, but the individuals who live in that house. Who's living in there? Are the residents safe? Are we safe? I live right next to them, and my parents are scared to step outside onto our porch.
Vinfin and state officials said they appreciated the input.
We welcome that involvement. We need it. We want to talk about how things operate in the house and what we know and what we don't know, and how we need our neighborhood to be a part of providing us feedback. And when they have, we may not have always responded as well as we could.
The meeting concluded with a plan for another meeting.
We will be coming back to you guys with a date within a week and a location for the next meeting.
I think we need to come back with specifics. There's a lot of generalizations and a lot of wonderful things, but we have an entire community who's very, very concerned, and we need specifics.
VinFen has a lot of thinking to do, and when they get back to us, they better have the answers.
VinFen will be releasing the date of their next meeting soon. This will consist of Somerville residents, the police department, and VinFen employees who will create an advisory committee to deal with issues such as these on a regular basis. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Kayla Mamlak.
Now we head to the high school. Last spring and summer, the media talked a lot about unaccompanied minors fleeing violence in Central America. Over 70,000 young people are expected to arrive at the U.S.-Mexican border this year. Somerville has always been a destination city for immigrants, but recently, the flow of young people arriving here has increased. Since January, about 60 unaccompanied minors and many more young people who came with their parents have moved to the city. Reporter Yu Xiaoyuan and news director Jane Regan bring us this special report.
Allá está muy peligroso todo. O sea, allá las pandillas no lo dejan en paz a uno. La gente se está yendo porque está muy peligroso. Es más seguro que en El Salvador. Uno puede superarse más, tiene la oportunidad de poder superarse.
Today is Tuesday, October 28, 2014.
Mis padres viven acá, vivo en El Salvador, vivía y por parte de ellos vine acá a conocerlos. Yo le comenté a mis padres que como iba a cumplir mis 15 años, necesitaba estar con ellos, porque no es lo mismo estar con los padres que con los abuelos.
Rewrite your story. Okay? Escribirlo de nuevo. Ahora, paso final. Okay? Limpio. I'll give you another paper.
Uno no anda tranquilo por caminando cuando va a estudiar, a comprar o algo, uno anda con temor que le salga a alguien, hacerle algo o algo. Entonces uno anda siempre con el temor y no anda tranquilo, pues por eso decide estar acá mejor.
Somerville public schools are home to hundreds of children from other countries. About 870 students, almost 20% of the city's public school students, are English language learners because they recently arrived in the U.S. 60 of them traveled to the U.S. alone or with other youth over the past year, taking great risk and often ending up in jail in southern Texas.
Bueno, ahí viene uno en carro, en bus, en tráiler. Es bastante difícil porque cuántos no han quedado muertos en México por X motivo. Y sí cuesta bastante. Tuve una enfermedad que si más me muero, pulmonía. El doctor me dijo de que había sido por haber estado en las hieleras en Texas.
Pues el viaje no es tan fácil porque uno como de mujer, le voy a decir, se arriesga a todo, pero gracias a Dios no me fue lo que pensaba que era malo.
Sarah Davila is the director of English Learner Education. She oversees all the programs for students from immigrant families.
Unaccompanied youth is a particular profile of a student who is relocating to the community. For us, it's usually because there are family members already in the community. Oftentimes, those unaccompanied minors are undocumented. It's our responsibility to welcome every student into the district, and our approach is as soon as a student comes to Somerville, they are our students, period, and we don't need to know, and we're not interested in knowing about their residency status. We want them to be successful, and they come with particular needs, and we need to respond to their needs.
Box of cans.
Box of cans.
Box of cake.
Box of cake. Box of coffee.
Box of juice.
Box of juice.
Students take most of their courses in English right away, but they also take ESL or English as a second language. Alicia Sandeger is one of their teachers.
Oh, they have so many challenges. I mean, beyond just, let's say me moving to a different place and dealing with my, learning a new culture. Some of them are, having to leave behind moms and dads and knowing they won't see them for many, many years. They're having to work so many hours a week, 40 hours, sometimes more than that a week. Beyond the challenges of sometimes they're coming with educations, like a 4th grade education. So they're being asked to do pre-biology, or they're being asked to do, algebra and geometry, and really put in situations where it is super hard. I mean, that's hard enough when you're not working 40 hours a week. But so those are a lot of the things many of our students are going through.
Soda.
Frijoles.
Okay.
Beans.
In English?
Beans.
Onion. Onion.
Beans.
No.
Beans.
Beans, good.
Beans.
You're dealing with more than just them learning a language. You have to think about their whole self, their social and emotional component. How are they adapting, the kind of stages that people go through when they go to a new country and they're learning a new language and a new culture. So you're dealing with the whole student, not just what you're teaching them.
So now you're gonna find cómo viene cada uno. So, rice.
Los nuevos estudiantes, cuando venimos acá los sentimos bien raros porque no sabemos nada de inglés y nosotros mismos los preguntamos cómo vamos a entender si no sabemos en inglés. Entonces, pero hay muchas personas bondadosas aquí en la high school, como los profesores y algunos compañeros de nosotros que hablan español y ellos los ayudan mucho a nosotros.
Y yo miraba a todos que, no sé, que me miraban raro y algo, pero no, todos me hicieron una amistad. Los profesores muy amables, está todo bien.
Puts the tea, then she puts the can of soup, then she puts the eggs, and todo eso. Okay?
Every year, the school system anticipates about 60 new students from other countries. But already this year, 48 students have arrived.
What we've done this year, knowing that we have the increase in beginner students, meaning that they're high school age, they maybe 15 years old or 14 years old, but they've completed maybe 3rd grade of education in their home country. So we've shifted our cluster of courses.
Van excelente para mí porque solo llevo A y B. Entonces es de ponerle muchas ganas uno si quiere lograr lo que quiere. Y pues con la ayuda de los profesores, buenas personas, le ayudan a uno sale adelante.
Pues para mí la cosa más bonita es estar con mis padres, con mis hermanos y que me están apoyando en el estudio de aquí de Somerville High School.
Mi sueño es poderme graduar de high school, conseguir un buen trabajo lo cual yo pueda llevar una mejor vida, tanto yo como mis papás y mis hermanos.
As the city's newest students start adapting to their new lives, they wanted to share some thoughts.
De que comprendan a la comunidad latina y miren cómo están las cosas en nuestros países, ya lo que es Centroamérica. Está una situación muy difícil y pues les pido de que nos comprendan y nos den el apoyo que necesitamos, que nos ayuden, que no haya discriminación para nosotros.
Hay veces, tal vez piensan ellos que uno viene como a estorbar a este mundo, pero hay muchas personas que venimos a luchar por algo, por tener un buen futuro y por demostrarles que podemos, a pesar que somos unos niños, podemos aprovechar el tiempo que estamos aquí.
Jar of mayonnaise. ¿Qué más viene en un
New students are arriving almost every week. The school system is looking for bilingual volunteers to help with the homework and mentoring. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Yu Xiaoyuan.
We withheld the names of the students in order to protect them and their families. If you want to lend a hand as a volunteer, contact the volunteer coordinator Jen Capuano at jcapuano@k12.somerville.ma.us. You can also help by donating winter clothing for teens. Call the Parent Information Center 617-629-5670. Want to make sure spring is busting out all over in a few months? Somervillians of all ages are welcome to the 4th annual Somerville Bulb Blitz on Saturday, November 8th from 10 a.m. to noon. Participants should bring their own tools like bulb planters or shovels. For more information, contact Luisa Oliveira, loliveira@somervillema.gov or 617-625-6600, extension 2529. It's election day here in the U.S., but today's voting wasn't the only time people were casting ballots in Somerville. Just a week ago, voters in Brazil and here in the U.S. re-elected Dilma Rousseff as president of that country. Over 8,000 Brazilians from 4 New England states came to the Somerville High School. I covered the story with Somerville Journal reporter Danielle McLean. People walked, took the bus, and drove to Somerville High School on October 26th.
One of the reasons that we chose Somerville, it's because it's a city that welcomes well the immigrants that we have in the Boston area. A lot of the Brazilians live in the region, near Somerville as well.
All Brazilians who live in Brazil are obligated to vote. Voting is not mandatory for Brazilians abroad, but thousands turned out anyway.
Well, I just think as a Brazilian, as a citizen, we gotta help to choose the right candidate.
Some people traveled from other states.
I don't live in Massachusetts, I live in New Hampshire, and I drive 1 hour and a half to come here to vote. I'm here to vote because I believe in Brazil.
Others were right in the neighborhood.
We are considered new immigrants here, and our connection with Brazil is still very strong. And we have family over there, and we care about what's going on there political-wise and economic-wise. So the reason we come is because we want to make a difference. Because politics is important for Brazilians, I think both in Brazil and here. I was just in an event this week with one of the candidates, the governors, candidate for governor of Massachusetts. So we are trying to be present and be participating on both Brazil and the United States.
Brazilian radio station NASA Radio 1570 AM was also on hand to cover the election.
We have a lot of Brazilian community, it's very huge here. Yes, a lot of listeners, news, music, interviews. Yeah, it's very exciting. They are very concerned to vote with not just with emotions, but with a right reason to try to choose the right president for Brazil.
According to the Brazilian consulate, almost half of all eligible Brazilian voters from 4 states, about 46%, trekked to Somerville to cast their ballots. It was the highest turnout of all 10 Brazilian consulates in the country. A 46% turnout is not too far below the typical turnout for U.S. presidential elections, which is usually about 57%.
I think for every country that it's a democracy, it's important for people to vote.
The elections are not decided by the voters abroad. There is not a single jurisdiction which holds the key to the victory. The elections may not be decided here, but for the Brazilians who live here, it's very important to come and feel that they belong, they have a relation with Brazil.
Well, I'm doing my part to make Brazil a better country in general.
Many people here today told us that the election is an important place to have their voices heard. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Sarah Zhang. Now, a story that almost everyone in the city can relate to: flooding. Streets and parking lots, basements, even businesses, they've all been flooded. The city's been trying to address the issue. News Director Jane Regan took a look at the issue and attended the October 30th meeting of the Flood Forum Special Committee.
It happens a lot and may become even more frequent. Somerville is a city of hills, after all, and part of it used to be a salt marsh. At a recent Somerville Museum event, historian Richard Duffy talked about how Union Square was once home to
the gone but not forgotten Miller's River. Essentially began as a freshwater stream up near Prospect Hill and then made its way down past Somerville Ave, beyond the railroad tracks, and you can see it running right along here. All of this portion of the river, practically to the Charles River, has been covered since the late 1870s.
Finally, most of the city's 300 miles of pipes are 100 years old. No wonder flooding has been the topic of several meetings lately. Flooding can be on streets and in basements. During flash floods, it can be nasty.
When there are surcharges of the system, why am I having fecal matter in my house? Well, unfortunately, because that same pipe that's carrying that stormwater, your neighbor's flushing their toilet, it's going into that same pipe. It would cost the city about $5.3 billion to upgrade all the infrastructure within the city of Somerville.
The city's sewer system is old, and it's what they call unseparated. It mixes stormwater with sewage. That's part of the problem.
I firmly believe that eventually, it might take hundreds of years, that Somerville is going to have to eventually be separated. It may not be in any of our lifetimes, but if we're going in and doing a project such as Union Square, such as Lower Broadway, these projects, we hope they have a lifespan of 100 years.
Until the entire system can be separated, officials promise to address flooding causes little by little. Maintenance to sewer pipes will continue. Large new developments will pay an extra fee that can be used for improvements, and aldermen hope to change the rules on how much impervious surface is allowed.
You know, even if there were not another inch of concrete and asphalt laid on our city today, the flash floods that we're getting are going to continue, and I think probably get worse, just because I think the weather's going to get worse. The estimates I've seen are 70% of the city are, covered with impermeable surfaces. And I feel like this is a matter of great urgency. So, Cambridge is doing it now, and I want to know how fast can we do it.
There are projects in motion in a few neighborhoods, and a 15-year capital improvement plan is in the works.
Unfortunately, these are not projects that happen overnight, and I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes in.
I actually thought the meeting was wonderful. We were looking for how this problem is going to be addressed, and as you can see, it's going to be attacked from a number of different angles. So yeah, $5.3 billion, but if you begin to break it down in chunks with, and some funding coming from various sources, and we're attacking it from all angles. So not just attacking it in terms of the long-term separation of water and sewer, which we know is that huge piece that's hanging over our head, but all the smaller pieces that go along with that.
Somerville definitely doesn't have $5.3 billion lying around. Will fixing bits and chunks be enough? And what about Union Square, which is going to be redeveloped? After all, that's where Miller's River used to rise 5 feet every day. We'll be following this issue. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Jane Regan.
Now, let's hear from the Somerville Journal.
Hello, in this week's Somerville Journal, we'll have coverage of residents' reactions to better safety proposals for Vinfen's group home on Central Street. We'll have coverage of Tuesday's election, and we'll have a look at the Boston Derby Dames as they try to find a new home after losing their practice space in Somerville. You can always read us at somerville.wickedlocal.com and follow us at VilleJournal on Twitter. And you can get in touch with me at 617-629-3385 or datkinson@wickedlocal.com.
Winter is coming, and so is flu season. Anyone 5 and older can get a flu shot at one of the city's annual flu vaccine clinics. The shots are free, but if you have health insurance, please bring your card. Children under 18 must come with a parent or legal guardian. Visit the City Hall Annex any Thursday evening through December between 5 and 7 p.m. We end back at the high school, where students are preparing for the Somerville Rocks talent show.
What we're doing is a thing called Somerville Rocks. Right now, Somerville Rocks is we got 4 bands, about 4 or 5 singers, and it's cool because Somerville does rock, and now we're going to find out that Somerville rocks musically too.
Well, basically the main reason why I participate in this event is because I love music, drumming has always been my favorite thing to do, and it will continue to be, and I really like the school's music system and the way it works.
I can give you a reverb too. I'll put a lot of reverb on it. Echo. Back Monday, all right?
I'll be back Monday. Same room. Same room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
What time?
3 o'clock.
Okay, I'll be here.
In the woods. It's just a passion that I've had that I've been doing. I also direct the Sunsetters, and but this is different. This is rock. You can hear it in the background. Kids are really talented. All the kids, the drummers, guitar players, and they have good teachers too. Charlie McLaren and Rick Saunders, very dedicated music department here.
Check out the show on Friday, November 7th at 7 p.m. at the East Somerville Community School. Admission is free. Well, that's it for tonight. We'll be back on November 18th. In the meantime, you can watch and read news stories at somervilleneighborhoodnews.org. And be sure to check out our Facebook page, SCATV SNN, and share your favorite segment. Or send a tweet at SCATV SNN. We welcome you to get involved with Somerville Neighborhood News. Become a reporter or just send in your ideas. Call us at 617-628-8826 or write to news@scatvsomerville.org. I'm Sarah Zhang. See you around the neighborhood.